All right, welcome to another installment of the Life Happens podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Dotz, and with me today, as always, every day, my co-host, your best friend, and overall just a really cool guy, Shawnee Mack. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Excited to be on another episode here.
I know, right? The weather's
Excited to
turning.
also
It's
just be an overall cool guy.
You are an overall cool guy. The weather is turning. People's
Mm,
people and places are opening up, and COVID's trying to or starting to take a little bit of a backseat. So things are looking up,
yeah,
and that's what you want.
yeah. We had
Um,
our pool open yesterday. Big news. Very exciting.
oh, congratulations! I didn't even know
Yep.
that. That
Not
that was
relevant to the
not
show
in
at
the
all.
pre-show rundown.
Nope.
But no, good for you, man. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Um, not to bring the
Back on
energy down,
topic.
or yeah, not to bring the energy down or anything, because we're definitely not going to do that. But a topic that, well, actually, a person that we've wanted to talk about for a little while here, the great Bill Gates, the alleged founder of the internet. Everyone remembers, Windows 95, those big box computers, gateways, and all that stuff. The family computer in the living room. Those early days with dial-up. Uh, he's credited with all that. He's a great guy. He has all these initiatives, saving the planet, meat consumption, helping third world, giving away all of his fortune. I mean, there's not a bad thing to say about the guy. But when you really peel back the layers and kind of dive into the details, with all the available information that we have today, thank God. Yours truly and my great guy co-host here did exactly that, and it's not what it seems on the surface, is it, Sean?
No, and that's I think really what most people don't understand is it's not at all like the image that's portrayed on the surface. It's just this image that we built around Bill Gates. He has like this aura almost like like you said, he started the internet, like he's saving the world, he's investing all this money and everything, and like he's just an all around good guy. He's universally accepted as like the best guy in the world somehow. Um,
He's become really he's just like an entity. He's almost like
yeah,
above being like Bill Gates isn't a person. It's an aura almost. It's
yeah,
Bill Gates.
nobody can like he's not controlled by any one government or anything. Like, at
Nope.
the end of the day, richest guy in the world, richer than many countries in the world. He goes back and forth with other people, of course, but it's just every week there's a new article in some headline about his insane wealth growth and how much money he makes per minute, or how many billions he's amassed over the past 10 years, and it's all always spun in a very positive light. And I think that narrative is starting to change, and it probably needs to, because we keep
Definitely.
reading positively about this guy amassing all the wealth in the world. People read the same thing about Jeff Bezos, and then at the same time everybody's mad at the rich, but everyone's like reading those articles and everyone's talking about it in a positive light. Probably shouldn't be, the more we take a deeper look here.
Yeah, I think that's a big factor, right? So obviously, pretty timely with his divorce. I mean, he had a long-standing marriage, and it obviously just recently came to an end. Happens all the time. Not really a
Yeah,
big deal, but
no.
kind of a big deal when you're one of the richest men in the world, and you have this massive wealth and estate and all these projects and things like that.
And
Um,
entanglement in everything. He's in,
oh, he
everyone knows he's involved in everything, right? Like
Yeah,
Bill
he
Gates
he has a
is.
hand in literally every single thing.
Yeah.
So obviously with the divorce coming out, and then with just the all the information readily available, I find that a lot of, I mean, this is how our show started. Like our generation is finally starting to ask questions and taking the time to do the research and actually, the trust but verify. We're now finally verifying, and now we don't trust anymore.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we want to talk about, right? Is where Bill Gates will say one thing, but then behind the scenes, through any type of vehicle or plan or anything like that, he's actually doing the opposite and kind of just pumping those numbers up.
Yeah, and one of the recent ones that has come out, and has been again praised as a good thing. Although, like you said, people have started to ask questions. That's what is changing the narrative. I really appreciate that. Saw it trending on Twitter the other day that maybe Bill Gates like isn't the greatest person in the world, or something along those lines. I think it was a Yahoo
Hmm.
article, but whatever. It was out there. It wasn't a positive spin. Anyway, one of the recent examples that people have been talking about is Bill Gates is becoming the largest farmland owner in the United States. Bill Gates now owns more farmland than any other person, not necessarily company, but person. At the same time, he's preaching
which
we
is an
all have to
amazing
go.
thought.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, he's the
The guy
richest
who
man in
invented
the
the
country. Why
internet
wouldn't he
is
also?
owning just all the farmland. Like there's obviously like some sort of intention behind
We've
that.
come full circle.
Yeah, yeah. We're going back to seed.
Back to the simple life.
Mm.
But as the same time, he's been preaching a plant-based diet for the past 10 years. He's been telling everybody to eat vegetables, whether or not that's correct, whether or not you agree with that. At the same time, buying up all the land and the farmland that produce those vegetables. So it's it's just a little bit disingenuous sometimes, and it seems as though he can be saying one thing when in the background he's not necessarily profiting or pocketing, but in some cases he is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's kind of interesting about it. Some of the other ones are, all the money he gives to companies, right? You always hear about Bill Gates donating grant money and things of that nature. Sometimes those are going to companies where like he's also invested in and he owns stock in that company. And so he can give them a grant, specify what money the grant can be used for into one area of the company and
Mm-hmm.
invest based on the returns that he knows are going to come in that area due to that grant money. So
And
like,
And honestly, like I hate the term devil's advocate because everybody uses it now. But there are tax scenarios, and we see the rich do it all the time, where they're using these different tracks to, basically retain as much of their wealth as possible. Right? The rich don't stay rich by losing or giving away all their money; they keep it all. So he's using which up until he's convicted is technically legal, right? But it is in poor taste when you peel back that top layer and you realize this donation, this grant, whatever, is yielding 2-3x back, into his pocket.
yeah, and that doesn't make the donation of the grant a bad thing. We're not saying that. Or like somebody
No,
giving money to a school to fund the growth of that school or whatever it may be is not a bad thing. But the full narrative should be discussed, explained, and put out if he's
it should
also
all be
profiting
out there.
off of that grant. That's all. That's all. Both sides should be reported.
Fully agree.
Like a similar the giving pledge, right? Everyone's fairly familiar, even if they don't know it
That
by
was the
name.
biggest thing
Like
was
everyone
when he
knows
came
about
out
it.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone knows about it, right? Bill Gates and I think Warren Buffett were the two that started it together. They agreed to give away 99% of their net worth, 90% of their net worth. I forget, there was a minimum threshold and then a suggestion that you should do. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was 90% of the minimum. But anyway, a ton, right? I mean, but granted, when you have
A
$100
shit
billion,
ton.
that still leaves you with 10%. I mean, you're still technically practically a billionaire at the end of the day. So,
Right.
um, what was I saying? Oh, so he hasn't really like since that started. Most people would think, all right, he's going to give away 99% of his wealth. I would probably imagine that if he's actively giving away that much money, he's not becoming infinitely more rich. But that's not the case. Like since he started the giving pledge and said he was going to give away all of his money, uh, his net worth has increased like 40 or 50%, something like that.
That's
So
just an
like,
insane, like incomprehensible number. And I remember when this pledge had come out because I remember I wanted to be a Gates kid because he said that like his kids were only getting 0.01% of
yep,
his total wealth because he didn't want them to like grow up rich or something. And then you realize what 0.01 is, and it was like that. This is then, and it was still like 10 or like $20 million. So it's not like they were given 100 grand and it was like go be
start a
somebody.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you're still good like
Oh yeah.
for a long time.
Well, that's the argument at this stage is, and it's more of a bigger picture argument, a thought or theory argument as a society is where's the cap? Like, where do we just start imposing like wealth tax, not on how much you earn, but just because you're above 70 billion, above 80 billion, above 90 billion? Does anybody
Right.
need to have $100 billion? And do we have a right as a society to say how much one person needs to have? And those are kind of like the theoretical arguments we need to be having. We got to
Yeah.
decide even if we want to have as a society a wealth tax. If you are worth above 50 billion, do you get taxed 5% a year just for being that wealthy? Is that fair?
And would you honestly even notice, or just on paper you're pissed off about it? Because I would be pissed. I'll be honest, I would be pissed. It's very easy for me to sit here and say, we got to tax him, we got to tax him. It's like you're taking away that, they always say, like, you're always taking away the initiative of, like, or the not the initiative, the what's the word I'm looking for? It starts with an I. The What motivates you to be successful, basically, right? For you to get to that next level.
Intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you, like, why would you try to get to the top when they're just going to tear you down, right? But
Oh yeah, it's why when you're worth 49 billion, what incentivizes you to produce anything else in the society to get to 50 billion if
right,
you're going to be taxed back to 49 billion? What's the
exactly. You're just working for free at that point, which
Yeah,
I
so
get, but the argument, and not to take it too far, of course, we'll go back to Bill, but the argument against that is, your corporations, your business that grew exponentially and was super successful never paid corporate tax. They never paid. They had all of these incentives, and they had
all the breaks and everything.
all these subsidies and all this stuff to help you get there. You know, you got, it's, trickle down economics. You gotta give that back, or at least a portion of that back once you're at that peak. And so, I mean, again, you can be on either side of the fence, but we can all agree that the difference between $50 billion and $49 billion is not a difference at all.
Yeah. No,
You know
it's
what I'm
not.
saying?
Yeah.
And it gets a little bit dicier when we talk about Bill Gates, because it's not even a U.S. thing, right? He's like an ambassador for the world. He is in, he's got all that farmland that nobody really knows about, because who reads about farmland, But
They
he
donate
has,
a ton of money to the CDC and the WHO, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation,
oh, because
because of
they get to speak and basically make
yeah,
decisions.
yeah, but yeah, they get to make decisions, but because of most of the philanthropic work they do, they got to and they have all the money in the world, of course, so
Right.
they can, but to that tune, like some of the other things that have gone bad that I don't think ever came out, like everyone knows the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, right? Like everyone's read the stories about them, like curing everyone with malaria, more or less in like Africa.
Oh,
There's
great. Thanks.
yeah, all great things, but there's also been like trials that they did on little bit more unwilling population. Not that they were forced into anything, of course. They may just not
Ooh.
have been told all the details of how early on the trials were,
A
and
lot of
like
fine print in that 60-page waiver.
there was like mass sterilizations of groups of women because the drugs didn't work out properly or weren't designed properly. I don't know all the details. All I know is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation went to Africa and were testing out some new drugs, and they sterilized a whole bunch of women by accident.
Yeah, they're basically just doing, like, they're just doing running tests on third world countries who either aren't really understanding or aren't aware of all the risks that they're taking, which is a huge liability, obviously, especially when it goes south, like it did.
Yeah, like I'm not in the room. I don't know what they were talking about, but I have to feel like that shouldn't have happened.
No,
Uh,
and there should be people that are held responsible, but because it's
or it
not,
should even be talked about. Like we should even know that if they
I didn't know
only
that until
ever
you just said
print
it.
the good side of a company, if they only ever print the positive stories about a company, the company can do whatever they want. They get away with murder because they'll never talk about it. No one will ever know
Hmm.
about it. So you just have to report both sides fairly. And
And
I
when
just
you're at
don't
that
feel as
level
though
and
that happens.
you can manipulate stories that come out versus ones that don't, is because you have a hand in literally everything.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's almost like we call this progress. We call it progress. Like it's printed all the time in news articles about how rich Bill Gates is, how rich Warren Buffett is, how rich Jeff Bezos is, and like it's something we're supposed to all like aspire to or be in, like enamored with, like almost as though it's this like thing that we're all supposed to look up to and achieve. But that's kind of almost how it used to be when there were like kings and serfs and shit, like in old England. Like there was one guy who kind of controlled everything, and then kind of a bunch of poor people who did things for that one guy, like all of us do with Amazon.
Hmm.
Um, like when you put it in that context, it almost doesn't exactly look like progress.
No,
That
it doesn't. It's just
that
different
one
names
person
and different
having
and a different experience. Like, as much as people, and I find a lot of, not only like our listeners, but people that I interact with on a day to day in our demographic really kind of turn the other way regarding these situations because they feel so helpless and also so angry because it completely isolates them. They're like, what can we do? But if it's the 5%, the richest 5% are worth more or have more money than the combined 50%, that
Bottom 50.
50% can change the world.
Yes,
You know what
absolutely.
I mean? And that's what we
They just
preach
have
here.
to know and believe that they all can be willing to act in mass together.
That's the thing is like you have to act in unison, right?
It's
The
happened throughout history. Yeah.
we see it in media every day. Like big media is just trying to divide us, which is exactly what's happening in these social platforms.
And it's
Um,
working.
oh,
We're letting it work.
they are so like it couldn't have worked out better. Like it literally couldn't have worked out better. Like Bill Gates, by the way, net worth is $134 billion.
I didn't even know it was that high. Do you know how much money he's made during the pandemic? How much money the billionaires of the world have made during the pandemic? It's been astounding
Yeah, he's
how much
increased.
money they've added. Like gross.
Ooh,
Well,
do you
most
want?
people have lost money.
So between 2018 and 2019, he was making $33 million a day.
Just think about that for a second. Does anybody need to be making that much money? Like,
You always
I
heard
don't
that
I
like
don't know what we do. What do we do as a society? Where do we cut it off? I think that's too much. I think nobody needs to make $33 million a day.
if he were to drop $100 bill on the ground, he it would cost him more money to bend down and pick it up than really just keep walking.
Yeah, they've done the
That's an
calculation, and
insane
that's
thought. Like yeah, that's the one that always gets me the most. But 33 million a day is kind of insane. And all that money is coming in through not so kosher practices, like you said, and also it's the contradiction for me. It's going on TV, going on these these sites, just being on these platforms, preaching one thing, saying all this stuff, and then behind closed doors, under the radar, doing not maliciously, but
yeah.
intentionally drumming up the other side.
Which like most of where his image started to change and people started to ask questions was when they realized his ties to Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, the child pedophile who
Yeah, if you don't know who that
quote
is, then come
quote
on.
unquote killed himself in jail. Just like so we're clear, Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of low level child's pornography. I forget exactly what the charges were way back, like in 2008, before
Oh
any
yeah,
of
he
this
originally he originally
any
was
of
charged.
this
Yeah.
shit went down a few years ago in like 2019 or 2018. So a decade ago, he was a convicted, like, not child rapist. I don't think it was quite that far, but along those lines
You
to
get
make him
anything with child in there, you're
a
kind of
fucking shitty person. Like,
yeah,
you
you're
get
not
anywhere
great.
close to that, it's not someone you or I want to hang out with. Like, it's
No.
just a fucking shitty person. And so not the whole world, but the rich elite had known that for 10 years. And Bill Gates was still hanging out with him during this time. Bill Gates was going on his plane. Bill Gates was going to his island, like
Hmm.
during this time. No one cared. And
Nope.
really, it didn't get as much press as it should had after like the flight logs came out and there was proof that he was there.
I
Like,
can't believe that didn't blow up more. Like even we had the sitting president who was just in so many photos with, and you're just like, what? Are we not gonna do it? Like, are we not gonna say
oh,
anything?
there were people on the island who said they saw Bill there, who really talked about Bill being there, sitting
Yeah.
there with young girls. Like, I just, again, I don't, it's not fair for us to paint him always as this savior of all of us when he's doing these unsavory things like on the back end. It's just,
Yeah.
it's
Like
fucking ridiculous.
100 good things and one horrific thing, like doesn't you don't get to
The good
sweep
things
that just
don't
like under
negate
the
the one
rug.
horrific thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Like you don't get to do that. And even if you do it, it still should be reported as such as you said, you know what I mean? But I think that goes back to like the whole thing of he's trying to grow and build his wealth while preaching that he's going to give it all away.
Pretending
Doesn't
like he's
actually
not.
give yeah, doesn't give any like doesn't really give anything away. Like people
You know
always
who
say
else did
that it's like
exactly that
who?
recently? Elon Musk. He's another
Elon Musk,
person.
yeah,
Fucking, I feel like Peter Griffin. He grinds my gears with all this shit too.
it
Same thing. He
he's like a
said
modern day like Bill Gates, like when Bill Gates was starting off and like he built up
like
like
a compressed timeline though.
yeah, so he built like the elongated timeline of Bill Gates and building up Microsoft, which I love that they had this like this story about how he start. Everyone starts in a garage. You ever notice that? Everyone's poor and starts in a garage, and they're like grungy hippies, and then they just like invent the internet. It's
Just
like,
get it.
no, dude, you're like your dad had a shit ton of money. Like you you were given like don't get me wrong, he's a fucking genius, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah, credit
dude,
where
you
it's
had
due,
every
but
resource
like,
you would have ever needed. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And
it's just it's a further false narrative.
Elon Musk, who what has he realistically done? He made a flamethrower, and
Yeah, false narrative as well. He didn't start Tesla. He
no, he
bought
didn't.
his way into Tesla. Most people don't know that because he claims to be a founder and he's sued to be a founder, but he's not.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like he had really nothing to do with the tech. He had nothing to do with any of that stuff.
Well, I
Like,
mean, he
well,
has
some. I mean, yeah. Hold on. Let's not get. Yeah,
since he bought his way in and took over and basically a hostile takeover. Since that, yeah, he's had a lot of impact, but he didn't start Tesla. But
no.
that's I believe what it says on the website. Um, he also said it was what you said that made me think of it is like 3 months ago he put out a tweet that he was going to give away all of his worldly possessions and sell all of his
Oh yeah.
extravagant stuff and his houses. He was just going to focus on putting humans on Mars. That was his sole mission in life. And like obviously that couldn't be further from the truth as he's
No. Yeah.
tweeting week in week out about how much he's buying and selling Bitcoin with all of anyway. I just
I will say this, but like just to wrap it up, because obviously like Bill Gates, we can go off forever, but specifically Elon Musk, which we will dive into on our next episode, because we literally would do a whole episode on him. Like
yeah, dude, I could do episodes.
I texted you this during the week about how he said that Tesla was revolutionary. They were going to take Bitcoin.
Yep.
As a currency to purchase Teslas and things like that. And then
Yep.
Bitcoin had a huge dip this week, and he came out. He said it's not feasible to accept Bitcoin because obviously the market's so volatile. It's like, dude, you're a liar, man. You're an asshole.
This is
Like,
just a rich guy slighting the poor again. He lets you pay with it on the way up. It appreciates. He sells out, and then he doesn't let you pay with it on the way down because it's a depreciating asset. It's it's just what he does. It's his MO, but
I mean,
then he
that's
gets
illegal
praised
in
as
and
a
of
good
itself.
guy for it in the media for helping. Like, I don't understand. Like, Elon
There,
Musk is going to accept Bitcoin. They put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, said they wouldn't convert it to fiat currency, aka dollars. What did they do? Converted it to fiat currency. Not
of
all of
course,
it. Not all of it, to be
but
fair.
enough of it.
But right after saying we're not going to, then you do it. It's just not good optics, right?
In 2006 or 2008, Volkswagen had a commercial where they had a bunch of monkeys, right? And the monkey went to I'm serious, the Volkswagen dealership and paid for a like a Jetta or something in bananas, right? It was $25,000, like 25,000 bananas. A dude in Germany went and bought 25,000 because they're like $1 a bushel or whatever, and he paid in bananas, sued Volkswagen for false advertising, and he fucking won.
Wow.
But we can't hold Elon Musk to the same standard because he's Elon Musk, and
Yeah, because he's also
nobody's
our
gonna say
savior.
shit. It's like I don't understand why they make the like why society,
Dude,
one, picks and chooses, and two, like just idolizes these guys, who is at the point now with Musk, he's ripped. At least Bill Gates is saying shit that you want to hear in front of a camera and then kind of getting you on the back end. Elon Musk is screwing you in your eye.
but dude, one of my biggest gripes with Musk and Tesla specifically, I think Tesla's like they make really cool cars. I think their engineering team could probably be a little better if they didn't run so lean and didn't have
The idea
quite
is
as many
amazing.
issues.
Like,
But I think most of the narrative of people who have them will love them. There's behind the scenes a different narrative, but we're not going to go there. That'll be for the next episode.
mhm.
But he has been selling a package called quote full self driving for I think 6 years now.
Oh yeah, whatever happened.
Tesla has been selling full self driving. Uh, the highway authority has not authorized level 5 autonomy to be on the road, which is full self-driving. That's
Yeah,
the
they're
level you
banned,
have
aren't
to
they? Well,
achieve.
not banned,
No
but
one has proven that as an auto manufacturer, a full-blown auto manufacturer, they can achieve what they call level 5 autonomy, aka full self-driving. Tesla hasn't achieved it. Elon Musk admits they're at level 2. They have 3 levels to go. He's been charging people $6,000 for this technology for 6 years.
that doesn't exist.
They've just been pocketing money for technology that doesn't even exist, that he sells as quote unquote full self-driving when it's not.
So is
Why does that not get picked up? Why is that not talked about? Like,
seriously,
how does he get to
all
label
the
it full
crypto
self-driving?
take all of the cryptocurrency bullshit that he peddles every day off the table because it's insanely illegal just in and of itself. And that statement right there that you just made about like that's that's a huge crime.
To me, it sounds like fraud, or I guess, if Volkswagen had to lose to the guy with the 25,000 bananas, I think in court, then at least he'd probably still lose. You know what I mean? It's almost like fraud, but
Right. It
um,
makes absolutely no sense to me.
it's just, somebody might just be like, oh, it's misleading. If you read the fine print, it says it doesn't fully self-drive the car. Well, then why would you label the fucking program full self-driving?
Yeah, it's literally
why would
right there.
why would you
You're
call
buying
it
it's a
that then?
premium package. You're at the point now where it is fraud because you're offering me a premium package that is called out in our contract that does not do that. Now, I'm sure there's addendums and all that shit, but
Yeah.
like
They also made it so simple you could buy it by accidentally using the Apple Pay button with your thumb on your phone. Um,
instead of clicking
Instead of
it,
having to because it's a $6,000 charge. So
yeah,
instead of having to verify the payment or make sure your credit card limit is that, you could just accidentally put your thumb on it and people were like, I didn't mean to pay this.
yeah.
I,
I was like, too bad, man.
you just overdrafted my bank account by $4,000. You know what
Didn't
I
we talk
mean?
about Instagram moving their button to the purchase button?
Yeah, Instagram moved a year ago, 6 months ago. I
Yeah,
remember
we were
noticing it.
talking about it.
I opened up the new app. I went to look where the like button used to be because you go to check what's happened out recently, notifications, and it was the fucking purchase button. They
Yeah,
trained all of us to press this button for so long, and
because
then
we're
the
looking
instant we're
at
fucking indoctrinated like monkeys. They swap it, and they're like, "We gotcha.
we
Go buy
cannot.
some shit."
If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. Like we say it all the time. Like that's the shit that we preach to our listeners. Like you got to pay
Ask
attention to that
questions.
stuff. Yeah, you got to ask questions. You got to say why.
Why is this so
Something
free?
that bothers you. It just tickles you in the back of your mind. You're just like, well, that's different. Yeah, investigate that because that's basically what we're trying to preach on this show and kind of the whole basis
Drive
for it.
home,
So
yeah.
next next
Stay
week will
tuned.
be
Stay tuned
Elon Musk
next week because we
because
are going in on Elon.
I want to get some great quotes because I love when he talks. It's just mwah, it's so good and
Oh
just
yeah.
the overall foundation of his bullshit. And we will do a follow up with Bill Gates and because I got to see those divorce numbers, man. What I forget her name.
Oh yeah.
Mel-
Melinda.
Melinda. Melinda's gonna be
Melvin.
rich, dude.
Yeah, after the fact. I'll leave a teaser for anybody for Elon Musk because we will talk about him faking not one but two company buyouts for publicly traded companies, which should land a CEO in jail. But we'll talk about it in detail on the next episode.
We definitely will. In that time, though, follow us on all social media at the Life Happens Podcast. On Twitter, it's Life Happens Pod.
On Twitter, it is
On
Character
Twitter.
Limit. Come check
That's
us out
right.
on YouTube. Throw us a like if you enjoyed anything. Give us a subscribe. Maybe go throw a 5-star review on iTunes. Who knows? We
Yeah, it'd be
would really
huge for us,
appreciate
guys.
it.
It literally takes 2 seconds, and it means the world to us, and it's all free. All this content's free. Moneymakers.
You're gonna start charging and put it behind a paywall.
Yeah, right. But until next time, we'll see you guys. That's Life Happens.
Thanks for listening.